Reach ourselves real quick. What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up? What's up? This is the 91st episode of the Crossover Sports Podcast. I know some of y'all listening to this joint's gonna be like, "Yo, is that Colin? Isn't he supposed to be in upstate New York doing grass and all that?" Yes, I am, but I'm still can fit this in my schedule a little bit at least. Yeah, so I'm rocking out with Amina and making his official debut. Jarrell and the rest of the gang should be in. So I'm going to introduce themselves to y'all for the first time. Go ahead, Jarrell. Introduce yourself.
Name is Jarrell Strong, born and raised in Chicago. Moved out to the Philadelphia area in about September. So, quick little induction. 27 years old, broke in the basketball field and do marketing. So, there we go.
All right. Yeah, that's our boy. That's our boy Jarrell. Definitely warm welcome to the family. Go ahead, Amina. Amina, you there? Uh-oh. Lost Amina already.
Oh, you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Oh, I was on mute. Sorry about that. Okay. Hi, everyone. It's Amina joining everyone today on this beautiful, crisp day. We have some awesome topics to talk about today about the craziest moments of the week past. I would like to give a formal welcome to Jarrell and his blessed addition to our podcast family. And let's get started.
All right, y'all. So this is the new leadership, well, new leadership era of the podcast. So, like I said, I'm hands off today, but Trey's supposed to come in later. So, as we always will, there are no crossover hot takes apparently. So, our first question today has to deal with free agency. All right, y'all. So, your reaction to free agency thus far, especially with the new signings of uh, Chris Paul, staying on the Rockets, staying where he was, and all that. So, your reaction to free agency? Go ahead, Jarrell.
Not too. It was crazy summer per usual, as it was expected. LeBron going to LA, which was speculated for a while. Shocked a little people him going out west and not staying in the east because it's a good chance that he's not probably going to make the finals this year because just after Golden State signed Rocket Federer, it's going to be real hard to beat them out come playoffs. So it's definitely been an interesting all season. The Bulls just matched Zach LaVine's 78 million offer sheet, which kind of makes sense for them. Not really makes sense because it's a little too much money for them, but they didn't really have a choice. They're not going to get any free agent right now because the roster set up is just not. No one wants to come in right now. So it's been an interesting summer so far.
Amina?
Yes, free agency has gotten off to a wild, crazy start this off season. Um, CP3, his name's Chris Paul. He re-signed, I believe it was a 4-year contract extension with the Rockets. He says he has unfinished business to do. I don't know what business he's referring to, but we'll leave that to the future. Um, PG-13, Paul George resigned with the Thunder. A lot of moves on other Eastern Conference teams. The Sixers, they got rid of like 3 or 4 people I could think of. They added some new people. Um, LeBron James left Cleveland for the second time, not to Miami this time, but he went to Los Angeles to the Lakers, which was a shock around the world. Um, Other people have also made some interesting moves this offseason. DeMarcus Boogie Cousins is no longer on the New Orleans Pelicans. He is a Golden State Warriors now. So it'll be interesting to see how he fits into the puzzle when he comes back, hopefully shortly before All-Star weekend. Um, what else? Carmelo Anthony has decided to not return with the Thunder. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes next or what he does. Who else? Waiting on Kawhi Leonard to see what he does or doesn't do. And a big shocker that happened yesterday, Tony Parker of the San Antonio Spurs has decided for the first time in his 17th career to go to another team. It's the end of an era with the Spurs. Shocking. Like, I thought he was going to be with them his whole career, but apparently not. He has decided to sign a 2-year, $10 million contract deal with the Charlotte Hornets. I guess Michael Jordan got him. Um, and a lot of great moves. I hear rumors that Jahlil Okafor has been traded from the Brooklyn Nets, possibly. I don't know where he's going, but that'll be interesting. He was a former 76ers. So this is a shake-up season for trades that's going on. Everybody's playing chess and checkers right now. And it'll be interesting to see how these draft picks from the draft last night, along with these trades, are going to mesh with people that are already on these teams come October. But I'm looking forward to it. This is one of the best off seasons we've had in some years in the NBA, where everybody doesn't know what's going to be going on, so everything is a surprise. So off season is still going on strong. Let's continue and see where everybody goes next. I'm looking forward to see where Kawhi Leonard is going though. He's either going to if he does decide to get traded, he's going to most likely the Sixers or the Clippers. But that'll be interesting. But he's a free agent next summer, so he either will stay on the Spurs one more year or he'll select the trade option now. So I'm looking forward to seeing it all. Next person.
Andre.
Drag.
Andre. Dre, you there? I guess I don't know what's going on with him. But my reaction to free agency is sort of going along with Joel. I mean, it's crazy. It's been like a non-stop roller coaster ride since basically since last Sunday. Tomorrow will be a week in free agency. And the biggest domino yet to fall. Some people would say even bigger than LeBron because wherever he go, he could shift power to. Kawhi Leonard hasn't gone nowhere yet, and is really back to what it was back in the day. It's either the Sixers, it's either Philly or LA for him, or he stays in San Antonio, which I doubt he's going to do because he said he'll sit out if he stays in San Antonio. So he'll definitely be going somewhere fairly soon. I wasn't. Well, we'll get to LeBron later, but there wasn't really any surprise. I don't think anybody thought Chris Paul was going anywhere. I guess the biggest surprise was Paul George, but I kind of got from his ESPN special. I don't know if anybody in here saw his ESPN special that he had been doing, especially when he started talking to Dwayne Wade. I kind of thought he was leaning towards staying and trying to build something with Russell Westbrook because Paul George has seen what it's like to be somewhere, be with all that greatness and still underachieve. So, I think that he's going to stay in the on the Warriors, stay on the Thunder, still possibly underachieve, maybe get to a second round now with how wide open the West is, and just touching on LeBron for a minute, I always thought that his common sense would outweigh what his family wanted. But like I've said on these podcasts before, LeBron is 34, inching to 35. We all understand that this is like his last hurrah for real. Like he's not gonna go anywhere after this. His next move will be I'll sign a 1-day contract with Cleveland and retire after this. Because if you look at the remainder of his contract, he'll be there until he's 38 or 37. And after that, he should be pretty much ready to leave the world of basketball. But I really didn't think that I thought his brain would outweigh the love that he had for his family, and he wouldn't let himself go to the West just to be victimized by the Warriors even sooner. But we'll see. But yeah, free agency is exciting. We've had some dynasties die out, Spurs. We've had some dynasties reinvent themselves, the Warriors. We've had the Lakers, a resurgent Lakers. I'll put that in quotation marks, a resurgent Lakers. And we'll see. Free agency is exciting. Let's try Dre.
Yo. Yeah, my fault. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was talking to my brother, and he brought a good point to my attention that did y'all know that Texas has no personal income tax. So don't discount the credit. Don't discount the fact that Chris Paul stayed there because he earns more money by staying there in Texas. Going somewhere else like a Toronto or somewhere where income taxes are even higher, because now you got to pay United States taxes, and you're going to have to pay Canada taxes. So it's a lot of money you dishing out. But although, don't forget as well that they have to pay taxes in every city they play in. So it can be costly, but most of the time, he's a Houston Rockets player. So most of the taxes goes to Houston and goes to Texas. But there's no personal income tax. So that's great. I expected him to stay there. Like you said, it was no surprise that Chris Paul stayed there. I'm glad he stayed there because I think they just one player away. I think they need one more piece, so they need somebody to step up and play to a superstar level, because it can't just be James Harden. Because Chris Paul, can stay at that level, but he's always getting hurt. So that's what stops them. But if they could get, I don't know who on their roster. They might have to bring in somebody. It'd have been nice if Paul George weren't there, because you got to stop this Warriors thing, man. This is getting redundant now. Paul George, I was surprised he stayed in OKC. I was really surprised. I know he probably likes playing with Westbrook, but I'm like, dude, that's not enough to beat Golden State. So it's just like your loyalty shouldn't outweigh your. Well, I guess that's to each his own. I don't think your loyalty should outweigh you getting a title, because it's all about titles now. Nobody really cares how loyal you are to a team. You want to be in the conversation when you talk amongst the greats. You don't want to be one of those guys. He never won a ring. He's great, but he never won a ring. So that's all that is with free agency.
All right, moving right along. All right, y'all. Our reaction to LeBron James leaving the Cleveland Cavaliers again, and going to the Lakers. And then, what's the current status of his legacy in the NBA now that he's a Laker? And was it a diss towards the Philadelphia 76ers? I'll start because that's a long-winded question. My reaction to LeBron James leaving is, told you so. That's my reaction. I told y'all. I told anybody who would listen on this podcast, outside this podcast, that the Bulls leaving. I thought it'd be Philly, but I knew it would be another big city in a top 5 market. So, he chose LA. My reaction is, Cleveland should be grateful, but they should understand that this is not him leaving. The first time was a basketball move. This move right here is more of a family move. I mean, because people get the two mixed up. The first time he left, that was a basketball move. The second time, this time he left, this is a family move because, like I said earlier, I doubt anybody's going to disagree with me. LeBron is done, after this contract is up. Like, he might go 1 year or so after this, but he's like on the tail end of his prime. I doubt anybody would disagree with that. He's on the tail end of his prime. And, he wouldn't be the first superstar to try and have their twilight years in LA, a la Karl Malone, Gary Payton, and others. Now, obviously, he's better than both of those players. But, he wouldn't be the first to go on the twilight years and put the Lakers in a bad contract situation that'll screw them over later. Wouldn't be the first time. So it's a good move for him and his family, I guess. Well, it's not a good move for him. It's a good move for his family. It makes sense if you look at it that way, that this is more of a family move than a basketball move, and more of a business move for after basketball for LeBron than anything else. This is more of a future move. So I'm happy LeBron's looking out for his future. I mean, that's what we want players to do. The current status of his legacy is what it was. I mean, he's a player who stays a while, doesn't stay too long, but stays a while, does what he can, and then when he gets tired, he's out. And then the last one part, no, that's not it. Yeah, hold on. I'm reading the last one. Hold up. My bad. Was it a diss towards the Sixers? Kind of, but not really. It was like for the Sixers, it was like when he decided to meet with them, he wasn't present. But when he decided to meet with them, I felt like it put the Sixers on another level because it showed that the Sixers have arrived. Because if y'all remember last year, the Sixers really didn't try, but the only big name free agent that they were able to get was JJ Redick. And this year, they were able to get a meeting with LeBron. They're in the mix with Kawhi. I guess they were sort of in the mix, but not really trying with Paul George. The Sixers have arrived. It wasn't really a diss. It was more of like I just said. This move right here was more of a family move than a basketball move. Because if it was about basketball, he would have chose the Sixers. This is more about family than anything else. Go ahead, Jarrell.
The LeBron situation, it was reported for a while that he's probably going to LA. I know a lot of people work in the basketball community. They have a lot of ties to different people. So the talks of LA been there since the day the season ended that he was going to LA, and he ended up signing to LA. It makes sense for him to go to LA after his career is over. He gets to act. Right now, he can start acting in movies. It's easy to get on sets on movies. He can do it during the season. He doesn't have to fly to LA all the time, so it's easy for him. His son probably going to bring a school out there in LA, going to the high school called Sierra Canyon. So the move all makes sense for him as a basketball player. His legacy, he's still LeBron, the second greatest basketball player to ever play the game, most likely. So some argue he's the greatest. So his legacy's probably going to still be what it is. If he wins a championship in LA somehow, it'll probably be even higher for him. If he finds a way to end up getting that championship, with the Philly thing, I don't think it ever made sense for him to come to Philly. It just doesn't work with him and Ben Simmons and Embiid. That's just a lot of guys that had a ball in the post.
True.
So I don't think it makes any logical sense for him to come, and it hinders Ben Simmons' development because Ben Simmons doesn't know how to close the game yet. And that was the biggest problem against that Boston team. But at the end of the game, they had nobody to give the ball to go make a play. And you bring LeBron in, Ben Simmons never learned that skill. And then once LeBron leaves, and when he leaves in the next 4 or 5 years, you're back to where you were before. Because Ben Simmons still depended on LeBron to win games. And now you don't have that closer. When now Ben has to be that closer. And if he doesn't become that closer, there's going to be some problems with him. So I don't think that would have ever worked for Philly in the long run to have Ben and LeBron on the same team. They're pretty much the exact same basketball player. So, and LeBron's probably going to be in LA for a while because he says he's trying to be in the NBA when the son gets to the NBA, and his son's only 13 years old, so he got some time.
Andre?
When it comes to Breezy, Mr. Brian, uh, man, I was so disappointed, heartbroken, that he didn't choose Philly. And I knew it was a long shot once he landed in LA. I was hoping, like I was reading articles and stuff. Well, the Sixers are going out there to meet with him. I'm like, yeah, that's still not a good sign, though. Like he's not in Philly having the meeting. He's in LA having the meeting. I know he has a house in LA, but and then I heard, his son had promised to go to school out there, so I was like, oh, okay, writing's on the wall now. So I wish him the best. I like the fact that they setting the squad up already. They got Rondo, they got Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee, somebody else they got. I mean, that may be it right now. But of course, what's funny? I was thinking Carmelo should go there, and sure enough, he parted ways with OKC because it's hard to fit Carmelo on any team. Like he's ultimately not the best fit for a lot of teams because he's just such a ball stopper. But I just I'm looking forward to the season. I'm looking forward to somebody taking the reins. I just can't. I'm gonna throw up if I see Golden State win one more championship. It's enough is enough already. I don't want to see any Lakers repeats where the team is just dominant for so long. This is dynasty. I don't want to see any, unless it's my Sixers. We deserve a dynasty after all we've been through. Was it a diss towards Philadelphia Sixers? No, I don't think so. I think like LeBron he's not your. I'm gonna commit to this team. I'm gonna commit to that team. He's gonna do what's best for his family, and he's always said that. So, he's a man of his words. So, like when he went to Miami before, he was more so talking about the city than he was talking about the team. Of course, playing with Dwayne Wade, that was a great option for him and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and we see what came of that. That was I wish that could have lasted a little longer, but it is what it is.
Trey?
As far as LeBron James, it's funny, because I remember talking about, I guess it would have been last podcast. I remember talking about the fact that um, LeBron James, I think, is more enticed by Philly, um, not necessarily, or by LA, not necessarily because of talent, over going to Philly. I think it had to do a lot with the front office. And it turns out I ended up. I mean, I don't know if that was his actual reasoning, but it turned out that I was right, that LA was for him the place that he would rather go. Um, and I don't think it was a diss so much to Philly. I think it was just more so, like I said, he's more enticed by the front office, and then also they've already got his family already has a house in LA, or I think maybe two houses in LA, and so I mean it made sense for him to be in LA, uh, not only family wise and um, basketball career wise. Because I mean, if you looked at who they've signed in the last week or so, they've gone for they've gotten some veterans, um, and it looks like they're going for depth. Because if you look at their roster, they're about 10 players deep. But as far as LeBron James going to LA, to me, it makes sense for his career. It makes sense for his family. And then also, I think Jarrell, you were mentioning it. It makes sense because he's in LA. Like LeBron James has already done, I think now 2 or maybe even 3 movies. He's got the TV show on Stars called Survivor's Remorse, and he's one of the executive producers on there. So I think this sets up LeBron James after he's thinking about retirement. I don't think he's thinking about retiring, in the next year, but I think he's planning so that when it's time for him to retire, that he's basically what he's doing. He's setting himself up for success now, and then also giving himself something to do afterwards, because it's likely that LeBron James will end up in the front office somewhere, just the same way that Magic Johnson did. And because LeBron James has already said that he doesn't see himself as a coach. He can't see himself coaching. So I think it's a good move by LeBron James. Did I want him in Philly? Sort of. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against having LeBron James. I wouldn't be mad if we had LeBron James on the Sixers. At the same time, though, to me, that stunts the growth of a few of our players. But at the end of the day, LeBron James is in LA now. He's in the Western Conference. It's going to be a tough road for him making it to the finals.
Let's just end that now before Amina goes. He's not making it to the finals this year. Let's just end that now. Go ahead, Amina.
Yeah, he ain't going to no finals in LA. I don't see it. But anyway, reactions to LeBron James leaving Cleveland again. It was to be expected. We all knew the whole season they were going to be a free agent at the end of the season, and it was coming. The clock was just ticking and talking, and it ticked and talked, and here we are. I gotta agree with what Kylan and Trey were saying about how he left in different circumstances than he did in 2010 when he left for the Miami Heat. Then it was more of a career move as far as I want to do this. He wrote a letter to Cleveland, said I want to bring y'all first title and all that. And he was much younger then. I mean, he was still in his 20s then. Gonna be 34 December, so he's older now. And he's not so much in ring mode because when he went to Miami, he was in ring mode and wrote a letter to Miami. When he went to Cleveland again, he wrote a letter and said, I'm going to bring a ring to y'all too. But going to LA, he didn't do that. That's how I know that he's in what Trey said, retirement, reflection, or mode, or whatever you want to call it. And the fact that he's setting up income revenue for himself outside of the basketball is a sign that this is the end of the road for LeBron James. Many players in the NBA do not make it past 20 years. I mean, Kobe Bryant was made it 20 years and know what type of health conditions he was in at that time as far as injuries and whatnot he had endured. So most people that make it between the 15 and 20-year mark, they retire within that range. So he's at that point. I mean, next year it'll be 16 years for him. And he's just making moves. I kind of figured that he wasn't going to go with Philly. Actually, the night time, I said, well, that was too good to be true for Sixers fans. He's going out there to LA. And Lord we know it. Signed with LA. Was it a diss to the Sixers? When I really thought about it, originally I would have said yes. But now I would say most likely no. It wasn't. because when you really look at how LeBron James functions on the team, he doesn't make players better. Causes people's stats to go down. People that had high grade careers before he joined them, their playing skills decrease and all that. And the Sixers are not in rebuild mode anymore. They are in let's try to get over the second round of the playoff mode. And I think when I really think about it, it would have been a setback for the Sixers if he would have been on that team. He would have slowed Joel Embiid down, and he's just really starting to really let his light shine. Ben Simmons would have been a non-factor, and the whole team would have just the chemistry-wise would have not been working out. So it's a good thing that he's not on the Sixers when I really think about it, because their young roster gets to get their talents truly developed now. That they don't have to have him as a distraction on the team at all. Because he went out there to the Lakers. I mean, there was already a circus this past season. We got Ingram, Kuzma, Ball, all out there. And now you got more people coming to add to the circus. So I don't know what their seed rank is going to be on the Lakers this coming season. I don't see them making it to the playoffs. They may be a 9th or 10th seed at that. But yeah, it was an interesting move for him to go to the Lakers, where what Kylan said, where some people spend the last twilight years of their career. But the only thing I have against it is that he can't live up to the legacy of star Lakers players in the past, of Elgin Baylor, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jerry West, Shaq, Magic Johnson, Kobe. He can't live up to their legacy because he doesn't have the Lakers persona in him. He worked well for Miami, worked well for Cleveland. He's not going to work well for the Lakers. The Lakers are a different team. It's a different mindset on that organization. And I think he's just going to be a regular player out there. I don't think he's not going to be a star player out there. So, and it's a good thing because it's at the end of his career rather than at the beginning or the middle. But like I said, it's going to be interesting how they all mesh well coming up when October comes, when the season starts. But LBJ Lakers, wow. Of all teams, he went to the Lakers. Okay. That's what I got to say about that.
All right, well, moving right along then. Let's go to the next question, which is the future of the Cavaliers post LeBron James. So, does head coach Tyronn Lue deserve to be fired? Let me start. The Jerry Jones of the NBA, that is Dan Gilbert. Some of y'all Cowboys fans might not like that comparison because you will say that Jerry Jones has more rings than Dan Gilbert. But I would argue that the comparison is very apt because they're both owners that are way past their prime, that have lost very, very key players, that have screwed themselves and screwed their franchises because of their ego and their arrogance. Let's be real. It's no secret that since he wrote that letter in 2010, LeBron James has been no fan of Dan Gilbert. And, the future of the Cavaliers is the same thing it was after, except they're in a worse position now because they don't have Kyrie Irving and they have an aging Kevin Love. They are screwed. They're in the toilet. They're going to hell, which whatever term you want to use for the Cavaliers, they're dead. They're dead in the water. They're shark bait. They're dead. Like, they have Colin Sexton, which is probably the best young point guard that they've had since Kyrie Irving. I'll give them that. But, all you have right now is Colin Sexton, Kevin Love, and J.R. Smith. That's good enough for 9th or 10th in the East. That's what that is. That's what that'll get you. And Dan Gilbert and any other profession, like let's just take the basketball out of it, take the sports, and let's use the metaphor of it. This was a business. if I'm a boss, and let's say we all work together, let's just say I lose the top employee to my company a couple of times. Let's say I lose him once. I diss him on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and he comes back. He or she comes back. I still have my arrogance. I'm still blinded by my arrogance. I still think that I can do what I want and keep them, and they leave again. Now, if we're taking the business world, first off, I would have been fired. Anybody in here would have been fired if you're a boss and you lose your top employee as because of something you did. You're probably gonna get fired. You won't get a second chance to keep that employee. But in sports, we let owners that are mediocre, we let business executives that are mediocre stay, and they really need to be fired. Now, Dan Gilbert won't fire himself, which unfortunately is the Teflon part of being Teflon Dan, because he owns the team. Which is why, again, it's sort of like Jerry Jones, because Jerry Jones can't fire himself. Dan Gilbert can't fire himself. And the team is mediocre because of an arrogant owner who continues to fire people before their time, alienate people before their time, not be able to manage players, and still he has a job. Now, Tyronn Lue. Unfortunately, Tyronn Lue was in a situation where he had LeBron James. It's hard to coach LeBron James, manage LeBron James, and manage Kyrie Irving and all that stuff that he had to deal with. But yeah, he has to be fired. I mean, it's obvious that he needs to lead the Cavaliers because now he's got anxiety attacks, which probably are coming on because he was the coach for LeBron James. He had to deal with Dan Gilbert and all them expectations that came with being the coach of the best team in Cleveland at the time for the past 4 to 5 years. So yeah, he needs to be fired. He needs to quit. He needs to resign because obviously that job is not good for his health. So the future of the Cavaliers is what I just said. They're in the toilet. They're dead in the water. They need to start over. They need to be snapped by Thanos and come back again. They need to be resurrected. They're dead. Go ahead, Jarrell.
I don't know if he's probably going to end up getting fired, or he might just keep it around for a couple of years and then leave. Cleveland's just in trouble right now. They just got to go in full rebuild mode and get rid of Kevin Love and get rid of everybody else and just trade everybody else of that JR, Caleb, and just blow it up. Build around Colin Sexton, see what he can do, and hopefully he can do something that they can build around. But they just have to blow it up right now because there's no reason to keep that roster right now. You've been to the finals the last 4 or 5 years, and you just got to blow it up and let it go. No reason to keep everybody there. Go out there, you can make the playoffs and make the 7th, 8th seed in the West and the East. I mean, and do that for a couple of years, but you'll be in that same position as the Charlottes of the East and everybody else, where it's just you keep making the playoffs, but you're not getting better because you have no cap space and you have no money. You're a destination that no free agent really wants to go to. So I thought they just have to blow it up and just try to rebuild through the draft, because otherwise they're just going to be in purgatory and just not doing anything in the East.
Andre? Andre, you there? All right, we'll come back. Trey?
Trying to get my thoughts together. The Cavaliers are in an interesting position. I remember when LeBron left the first time, and I mean immediately the Cavs were like the worst. No, they were the worst team in the league. And I think actually, and I might be wrong. I think the Sixers might have beaten the record, but at one point they had broken the record for most losses in a season. Because I think they went something like 10-72, and then I think the Sixers went maybe that next year 9-73 or something like that. But I think I don't think Tyronn Lue is going to get fired. I think things will stay pretty much at the status quo. and I don't think they're going to blow things up. I think what's going to happen is similar to what happened in Miami. Miami, when LeBron left and, D Wade left, and then you had Chris Bosh with the blood clots. Basically, what happened was that, Pat Riley is always he's not the type of person to tank. He might keep the status quo in place for a year or two, but he's never gonna purposely lose. He's not that type of person. He wants to win. So what the Heat did was they made trades and signed free agents, and kept, um, talent that they had drafted. They they retained that talent, and um, it wasn't a rebuild. It was more of a retool. And I think Cleveland, because they do have some nice, Kevin Love is not what he used to be, but I think Kevin Love, when given the chance, can still be and he did while he was on Cleveland, can still be a 21-10 guy. I think Colin Sexton is going to be a very good point guard for a long time in this league. He's going to be he, and I think hopefully he'll develop a shot. But I think I see him as kind of a Rondo, maybe with a better shot. Um, and they do have some good. You have Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance Jr. I mean, they're not great players, but they're good pieces to begin retooling a roster. And I think next year, you'll see. I think you'll see maybe one or two trades, like a trade maybe where they either trade Tristan Thompson. I think his contract might be coming up soon, actually. And if it is, then I think you'll see if he gets into the contract, he definitely is not getting another major contract like that. And if he demands a contract like that, I think they'll let him walk and they go elsewhere. But I think what Cleveland is going to do in the next 3, 4, 5 years is begin to retool the roster and just continue to add young talent. So it's less of a rebuild and more of a retool, or a what's the right word? I mean, retool is the only word I can really think. So they got to polish some things, and I don't think they're good enough to make the playoffs. Could they slip into the 8th spot? Maybe, but I agree with you, Kylan, that they're probably 9 or 10 seed in the East. But that just goes to show you how weak the East is. But I mean, that's where I see the Cleveland Cavaliers going in the future, post LeBron James. Um, is more of a retool and a rebuild. And in the next 5 years, we could see LeBron James retire. And I can't imagine that he wouldn't come back to Cleveland, and sign like a 1-day contract, that type of thing, so he could retire as a Cleveland Cavalier. Um, but we'll see. And I think that's where the Cavs are headed.
Amina?
Yes, the future of the Cavaliers. I gotta give it to Trey for using that great word. Not so much rebuilding, but retooling. Great, great word to describe their situation. When I look at the record of the Cleveland Cavaliers while LeBron James was in Miami for those 4 years, it's obvious the Cavs don't make playoffs without LeBron James. When he was gone, one year they finished dead last 15 in the East. Another year they finished 10th. And the other 2 years they finished 13th. Not even ninth seeds. They finished 10th, 13th, 13th, and 15th. So his presence on the team, on that team, has meant a lot since he was there for those 11 years, the first 7, and these 4 that he just was on. With their current roster going forward, J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, George Hill, Colin Sexton, I don't see them right now. I got to give them a 10th seed. right now. If that, if they could do some type of surprises along the way in the season and magically have a boom, maybe a ninth. But right now, I don't see them going to the playoffs based on their record that they've had without LeBron James. They're going to have to invest in the drafts for the next several years, take advantage of it, make sure you all get some good, decent people from the better schools that do basketball. Look into some schools, Michigan, Villanova. Try to do something because you all need to get a replacement for him since he's no longer going to be on the team. Tyronn Lue, interesting situation. I'm 50-50 with him needing to be fired. I would say yes because his health has been impacted these last 4 years as far as a coach. I remember one of these years, in these 4 years, he was out for a while during the regular season. And one of the assistant coaches was filling in his place because he was constantly having anxiety attacks at the hospital, taking medication, back problems. And I think it got to be too much. I mean, Cleveland for the last 4 years has not been a lightweight place to be, especially with Dan Gilbert running the show. And on top of LeBron James, Tyronn Lue just at some point didn't care. Like he let the chips fall where they may sometimes. But if his health is going to be continue to be impacted negatively, I think he should just bow out of the NBA as far as coaching and just find another career to do. And it's fine because it doesn't work out well for everyone. Everyone's not a high grade caliber coach in the NBA over the years. I say the other 50%, I say keep him for the time being because who knows who they will be able to find to replace him. It's not easy finding a coach that can get you to the final 4 years in a row like he has. It's not easy. Like you could get a coach after him and you won't see another finals for another 50 years. That's the reality of coaching staff changes. But they've made a lot of assistant coaches changes. I think they got like 2 or 3 new assistant coaches. So I say maybe just give him another year to see how he works with these assistant coaches and then make your move next summer. But they're in a position, like Trey said, within the next 5 years to do something else. Great. Post LeBron James. But because he's not on the team anymore, it will impact their seed rank. It will impact their playoff contention and everything. Like check their records since he's been drafted since 2003. They don't go to the playoffs when he's not on the team, and that'll it'll really say something next spring if that pattern keeps up and they don't go to the playoffs. They'll be like an "I told you so" moment. But we'll see where they go, what they do. But they need to take it one game at a time. Yeah. Because they ain't going back to no finals next year. Know that much. But next person.
All right, moving right along to the Sixers. So we're at this point now where free agency is almost over. And the Sixers have been wheeling and dealing more than they've been signing. So to word this question better. Do you think that this was a failure because the Sixers didn't get any big name free agents? Let me say this, right? Starting first again. The Sixers. I mean, listen. The Sixers. This is the Sixers. I compared the second season to what I said for the Eagles a couple podcast last summer. This is the season for the Sixers. Now they were a lot farther ahead than the Eagles were the season before they went to the Super Bowl and won it. The Sixers are at the point now, like Amina said earlier, where they're trying to build a future dynasty. And right now, this is probably good for the Sixers to strike out on everybody but Kawhi Leonard. And let's be honest, I've always called the Sixers the Philadelphia Spurs because, since they got Brett Brown, that's what they are. They're the Philadelphia Spurs. So it makes sense that they are the most in on the former Spurs player. So the Sixers, no, they didn't strike out. I mean, it's not a failure. Should they feel bad because they lost out on Paul George and LeBron James? I mean, to be honest, let's be real. I don't think you can consider Paul George a loss because I don't think the Sixers really tried on him. I don't think anybody tried on Paul George besides the Thunder and the Lakers. I think the Sixers were focused on the top two players and the person that we've all been saying for a while that the Sixers had a realistic chance at was Kawhi Leonard because all that would take is a trade. So I feel like the Sixers, it wasn't a failure. I mean, they've been making some slick moves on the side. Like they got Wilson Chandler, who to me is a way better Robert Covington with a more consistent shot. So I'm happy with that. I'm not going to kill the deal like most people are in Philly right now. Like, I think that was a great pickup. I think that definitely means that they're going to trade Robert Covington, which I am all for because I hate that man. I don't care if he's first team all defense or not. He's too inconsistent for me. I've said this before. So they've been making trades. They got Bielitsa, who's a really good shooter off of the Minnesota Timberwolves. So they've been making some slick moves here on the side, but I think for the Sixers, the most realistic expectation for them is for Kawhi Leonard. And if they strike out on that, it's still not a bad move because they still have Kemba Walker they can trade for. They can get in on CJ McCollum or Damian Lillard. Like there are other moves for the Sixers to make. This is more of a trade offseason for the Sixers than a free agent signing offseason for the Sixers. So like I said, this is more of them, their Eagles year before the Eagles made it. Like, what did the Eagles do? They started making trades. They were building through the draft. This is what the Sixers are doing. This is their trade, miss out on some big name free agents, but trade, get a big name free agent the following year maybe. The Sixers really just, like we've always said, are a piece away, and that's not necessarily a LeBron James, a Kawhi Leonard, or a Paul George. They just need a consistent third scoring option who can create their own shot. And if they can trade for a Kemba Walker, trade for a CJ McCollum, or trade for a Damian Lillard, that's a better option for the Sixers than going for broke for Kawhi Leonard, even though I want them to. But it's a better option than going for broke. So go ahead. Let's see. I'll let Matt gather his thoughts. Go ahead, Jarrell.
I really wouldn't consider it a failure for the 76ers in the offseason. It wasn't much they could have did outside of getting LeBron or Paul George. They really don't need too much. They need to probably add some more consistent shooting or add someone like a Jamal Crawford type to somebody that can go create their own shot off the bench or guys that can just create for themselves. Pretty good roster. They had a good matchup with Boston. They just need to find a way to beat Boston going forward because right now, Boston's going to run the East. Kyrie coming back and Gordon Hayward getting healthy, and when they stay healthy, it's going to be hard to beat them with those young guys and those two guys. So they need to find a way to beat Boston right now because pretty much Boston's going to run the East. Everyone keeps thinking it's going to be Toronto, but Toronto has proven time and time again you can't trust them after the month of April. So this year, Philly they signed JJ. We lost, but Bellinelli hurts a little bit. He made some tough shots we got in the playoff last year, so losing him a little bit hurts, but we can always be replaced. Hopefully, Markelle gets healthy because pretty much last year was a red shirt year for him. So if he gets healthy and proves to be what everyone thought he would be pretty much a free agent signing for this season because he didn't play at all last year. So that's pretty much what my thoughts is for the offseason for them.
Trey?
I don't. I don't think they. I don't think it's a failure. Did they miss out on LeBron James? Yes. Um, and then as far as Kawhi Leonard goes, I think, and we're learning more and more. It was just a ridiculous what the Spurs were asking for in return for Kawhi Leonard was just ridiculous. And I was saying this before is that the issue is, and recently Kawhi's opened up and said that he would also be willing to go to the Clippers because he really I think really he just wants to go to LA. In general, not necessarily the Lakers or the Clippers. I think he probably prefer the Lakers, but um, the thing with trading Kawhi and elsewhere other than somewhere in LA was that um, you know the Spurs were going to ask for, or pretty much anywhere, they're going to ask for a lot back because Greg Popovich is not a coach to tank. Okay, he's one of those type coaches that's not going to tank, and so I wouldn't say that they missed out on Kawhi Leonard, um, and I wouldn't say that their free agency was a failure. I think it was underwhelming, but I don't think it was a failure. Because I think I heard somebody say, or I must have saw an article that the process has failed at least during this offseason. And like I said, I don't think it's that it's failed. I think it's just that it's been a little bit underwhelming because I mean, for a while we were like, oh, LeBron James could come to Philly, you know. Um, and the intent of the process and the tanking was that we would tank, have a lot of good draft picks, get good young talent, and at the point where they began to develop into good talent, that would entice major free agents to come to Philly. Um, and I think the process is not complete because not because the players aren't there, because who wouldn't? I would love to play with, if I'm LeBron James or I'm Paul George or I'm Kawhi Leonard, I would go love to play with, really young guys who can get up and down the court. Um, like Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, those guys. I think the issue is, and I'm going back to what I said about LeBron going to LA, is that when people look at both the front office and the coaching staff of Philly, not that they don't like, I think people admire Brett Brown as a coach. I think he's a player's coach, and I think people like him as a person, but he doesn't have the draw that Magic Johnson does in LA or just LA as a place has. He doesn't have the Sixers don't have a draw that Greg Popovich does, and I think Greg Popovich is in that. Um, he's one of those coaches where he's more military, but people, if they want to win, would want to play with him. He doesn't have that Pat Riley. The Sixers and the front office don't have the draw of someone like Pat Riley in the front office or in the coaching staff. And I think when they get that, and it's not to say that if they don't get somebody like that in the front office that people won't sign with them, but I think that which is it's marketing really is what it is. If I'm deciding between two restaurants, the one that seems to have the better marketing, the marketing plan to me is the one I'm going to go to. The one that seems like it has the best food, or or I'll use the example of service. The one that seems like it might have the best service, I'm going to go. If you're sitting there deciding between McDonald's and a Chick-fil-A, you might like McDonald's and you might like Chick-fil-A, but if you're like, okay, I'm looking for the best service, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be Chick-fil-A. So it's the same thing with the Sixers. Players are looking at the Sixers and they're saying, okay, LA, good young talent. Philly, good young talent. But they say, but I'm looking for somebody with a solid front office and someone who I can count on in the front office or in the coaching staff. And they say, Philly, LA. LA, and that's what happened with LeBron James. Um, but to get back to the question again, they the Sixers have not failed until I think next year. I think is where we'll see whether or not they've failed or not. If next what we see next year is that if either the Sixers stay stagnant or don't get better, you'll see Brett Brown get fired. And this is the last thing I'll say. It's similar to what happened in Golden State. You had Mark Jackson drafted Klay Thompson. He drafted Steph Curry, I believe. Um, and he really built that team. To be honest with you, the current compilation of talent is not totally his, but he really built that team and gave them a culture of winning because they won 50 plus games 3 years in a row, but they never got to the finals, right? And Mark Jackson got fired, not because I think there was some other behind the scenes stuff, but it wasn't because the Warriors weren't good enough. It was that they had stagnated at a level of 50 wins a season, and so they weren't necessarily improving as a team. Individually, the players got better, but as a team, they weren't better. And I think if next year we don't see a steady improvement of both individual play and team play, so instead of winning 50 games, if they win 55, I think people will be more enticed to come because they're saying, okay, there's improvement. And but if that doesn't happen, then you'll see some major shakeup in the front office, or maybe not necessarily in the front office, but definitely in the coaching staff, and maybe even see Brett Brown gone. Because if you stagnate as a team, you're as a coach, you're not doing your job. And so I'm rambling a little bit, but that's my thoughts. Is that Philly did not fail yet.
Amina.
When I look at the Sixers this off season and what they did and didn't do thus far, I see maybe possibly they have other moves up their sleeve that we don't know about because they did not take advantage of all these great trade options so far. And it was kind of disappointing. I thought that maybe they would maybe be able to get Paul George at least, but he's decided to stay on the Thunder. So that's out the window. Their next hope is maybe grabbing Kawhi Leonard if he chooses to leave the Spurs. But I have to agree with what Trey said. It has with the front office. Maybe it has to be changed something, and I also think it has also to do with the situation with the Colangelo situation, how it's still fresh, and how player potential people are looking at that and saying, well, he was involved with burn accounts about current and past players on the Sixers. So why should I go there? Why should I trust that? A lot of front office and general manager moves impact potential players from coming to teams, and it's a known fact. So I think that's still impacting the team a little bit. But I think they just need one more piece because they're, like I've said time and time again, I said in the previous question, the Sixers, they're not in rebuild mode anymore. That was a few years ago. They're in let's get over the second round of the playoffs mode, which is let's try to get to the finals mode. And I think they just need one more piece to add to their puzzle. They're great in all areas on the floor, position wise. I think they need one good person that's good at shooting and has great defense. And I think they'll be good. But they're just missing one piece of their puzzle to help them get over this hill that they're trying to get over. But I think next summer they should really look at themselves in the mirror and take advantage of trade options that come up. Because next year, a whole lot of other people are going to be free agents as well. Some people are right now in their last year of their current contracts, so we'll see what happens. But Sixers, I think they're going to have another great season coming, and they're definitely going to the playoffs again for the Eastern Conference.
Matt, Matt, you there?
Here. Here. All right. It's been 2 weeks. Be glad. Being first things first. The process itself is still going on. Okay, so you get a couple setbacks. Brian Colangelo couldn't somehow, some way keep his fingers off the Twitter page or his wife, whoever it may be, or his friend those Twitter pages. That's one culprit. Another culprit is you've got high price suitors, a la the Lakers and the like, that you know threw the money around a lot more than the Lakers, which, by the way, my rant is simply this: the Lakers, the Los Angeles Lakers, you knew if the Lakers got a hand on any high-priced talent, aka LeBron James, you knew something like Rajon Rondo and others would come on over to the to one side of the Staples Arena, which is purple and gold, and all of a sudden they went from blase, lottery team to a championship contender overnight. That's what just happened. And then people in the NBA world forget that the Sixers are still in process mode because let's not forget, if we saw what we saw in the summer league, albeit the Sixers lost to the Celtics, but it's the summer league. If we saw this get, keep his name, forgive me if I'm messing up. Cormax go off the way to go off last night. The Sixers are fine. In fact, the Sixers got a lot more money to play with. Now, it's only early. It's only early. It's early. It's early in the off season. Everybody in the mountain, flailing their hands. We didn't get Paul George. We didn't get LeBron James. After all, we didn't beat LeBron James anyway. And Kawhi Leonard looks like he ain't coming to Philadelphia either way. So I crossed that off the list. The thing is simply this: you get all your players back. Hopefully, you get Markelle Fultz back healthy. Hopefully, you get everybody back. Like you said, the Sixers made some small moves that didn't rock the basketball world, but they made some moves to solidify their bench. That's what they did. They solidified their bench, and I think bench play for this team is going to be a big factor going into the season. Also, you gotta put this in perspective. This team is not done yet. I mean, a lot of us hope and want Robert Covington to go somewhere, but we get something better in the process. Hopefully, a draft pick. In my opinion, a good draft pick. But still, this team is still in process mode. We should not be jumping off the ship now of the offseason saying it's a full all-out bust, because honestly it is not. It is nowhere close to being a bust. But in my view, this team is still fine. As far as the East is concerned, they just elevate themselves to being the top two, if not three teams in the Eastern Conference. So frankly, I'm sitting here, I'm chilling in Louisiana right now because, frankly, the Sixers are fine. The Sixers are okay. And in fact, we have a lot of offseason left to go. So everybody, please, everybody in America, under the sound of my voice, please keep your pants on, because the Sixers aren't done yet. Remember, they didn't resign J.J. Redick. So everybody, please keep your pants on, because you know what? process is still going on right now. So just relax, sip on some, don't sip on pina coladas, but let's know that they are rebuilding and still building this franchise as we speak. Just relax.
All right, so moving right along. Matt, go ahead and go around the baseball
Oh,
diamond.
you skipped me, cuz.
Where you been? Go ahead.
Don't skip the poor man. He might come out with his LeBron love all the way from LA now. I gotta hear this nonsense.
Oh, shut up, man. Stay down in the gutter and the dirt where you at, all right? All right.
Oh,
The six as far as free agency goes, I like the fact that he signed Wilson Chandler. He's a pretty solid player. He can definitely bring some scoring to the table. He plays good defense. Um, I'm glad they signed JJ Redick. We need a shooter. We need a spot up shooter. And I'm glad they only signed him to a 1-year deal. Nothing crazy because he wasn't worth that deal that we gave him because he didn't produce in those numbers. But I know why they gave him the deal because before he did produce it in those numbers, but for some reason he got here, he just got lax and got into the gaze of the all that is Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. The Sixers, like Matt said, they got a lot of. It's still a lot of time till the season starts. Season doesn't start till October. They can still make some moves. They got to get rid of Robert Covington. He's not going to help us win any championships. We just got to get we got to get. I wouldn't even mind getting a vet that can help us because we like the vet we got. What is JJ Redick? That's the biggest vet we got to lead these young guys. I want somebody more. I want somebody louder than that. I want somebody that's just been through the trenches and they know how to guide us. Bellinelli, he's somewhat of a vet, but I need somebody like year after year they've been making the playoff. So somebody like that would be great. Like Paul George would have been great for us, but he decided to stay. They gotta figure out some way to get Kawhi Leonard here, man. He hasn't made a deal yet. Make it happen. We need a guy like that, man. That's what I'm talking about. He's a vet. He's had experience in the league. He can bring some scoring to the table. He can bring some defense. He's that perfect fit to this puzzle that we're trying to finish. So, Sixers, just do your thing. I'm disappointed that y'all didn't push harder for the LeBron situation, for the Paul George situation, but we got to move forward. Don't. I repeat, don't go try to go get Carmelo Anthony. That's not going to help us. He's not going to be a good fit for our team. But other than that, they'll be fine. And far as I want to comment on the Cleveland situation, I don't think you should fire Tyronn Lue because they did win a championship with him. The one and only championship they won in a long time. So I think you give him some grace. He just lost one of the best. He lost the best player in the world, and it wasn't up to him. Dan Gilbert messed that situation up. The owners just sit Dan Gilbert down and said, "Listen, man, what are you doing? You making this all about you. Let the players decide what they're gonna do. Don't get involved in it. You get involved with the team, but you don't get involved to the point where people don't want to stay because of you. You don't want to be a hindrance to the team." So that's as far as the Cleveland situation goes. I think you give Tyronn Lue 2 more years. You let him really develop this new team that's about to happen. Like they said, I like what you guys said. They're retooling because they're not rebuilding. They're just retooling. They can. The East is wide open now. So Sixers, I know it's gonna be tough to get into the playoffs and playing these Western Conference teams. But as far as the East goes, like it's wide open. Like you can definitely make it to the finals. So you just got to beat up on Boston and beat up on the Raptors. All the other teams, they're not gonna be that hard to beat.
All right, Matt. Go ahead and well, if you're not ready, then we'll move right along. But go ahead and go around the diamond since you got like a bunch of baseball stuff.
Actually, I am. So here goes. Last night, the Philadelphia Phillies took or top place, right? But I got some concerns. Let's see here. What's today? Today is what? Let's try to look at the date here. July 7th, right? July 7th. You got 17, 27, 29, 30. You have 23 days to the trade deadline. And there are at least, as I've been reading so far, two, if not three players that the Phillies should look at right now. One in particular, everybody keep hearing is one Manny Machado. Now watch this. What the Phillies could do is trade for Machado, probably in exchange for some prospects and probably some players on the 25 or 40 man rosters. That's what they can do. Here, also, what they could also with Machado, depending on their situation, they can sign Machado because he's a free agent at the end of this season. They can sign him and then tack on, give him a contract extension, probably 2 or 3 years, depending on how big the ownership think the window is. So GM Matt Klentak got some work to do, number one. Number two, now, I've been reading, according to NBC's Sportsnet, and it is not a bad idea to visit, but hear me out. You can bring two players from a blast from the past, but in Philadelphia lore, it has not worked very well, but it's worth a shot trying to take. You can bring back Cole Hamels to solidify your rotation and really solidify it, because think about this. Aaron Nola is playing out of his mind. He is tied for the National League in wins. Velasquez, Nola, and I'll throw Pivetta in there. As far as striking out, folks, they're up there. They're at least the top 20. But you can throw Cole Hamels in there to really solidify your rotation. Use your ace, and think about this. You have Hamels, Arrieta, Nola. If Pivetta gets right, and what's his name? And Vince Velasquez. Now he's on the 15. He's on the 10-day disabled list with a shoulder injury. You bring Cole Hamels back, and here's another name for you, Jason Worth. Don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. It's an idea. Jason Worth, who, by the way, he left Philadelphia for the money. Let's call it for what it is. Was it 7 years, 128? He left for the money and left a sour note in Philadelphia. Now, you could make amends by being traded back here and really being a gentleman and shut your face and get us back to the postseason. But I have a thing about trading to your division. The Nationals are kind of still in it. And why would you want to give the Nationals ammunition? But it is an idea really worth exploring. But those are three players right now that you could explore. But Manny Machado is the biggest one. Other names we're gonna find out more as they come. But the Philadelphia Phillies is going to be aggressive players at the trade deadline, and historically, in the last 10 or so years, 10, 15 years, the Phillies has been major players. So anything can happen between now in July 31st.
All right. All right. Ooh. Okay, so moving right along, then we're going to move to, well, we kind of talked about Kawhi Leonard, so we ain't got to do that one no more. Our response to several NFL players, Ruben Randall, and a lot of others, and the rest of them, going to jail for narcotics, weapons, and domestic violence. Go ahead, Matt.
You only have one job in the off season. Lay low and get ready for the next season. That's all you have to do. That is your main priority. Your main objective is to lay low and get ready for next season. Yes, you have a lot of free time between the end of the Super Bowl at either OTAs, mini camps, or even training camp. Now it seems like nowadays people are finding more and more ways to just find more and more ways to screw it up. Basically, let's put it to you this way. I'm gonna say this one time only. Conduct yourself as citizens. You know this. The policies of PEDs and all these other substance abuse policies, get over here. It's just, come on, man. I got a lot to say about it, but it's the fact that this is getting out of hand and getting out of hand quickly. So, to all the NFL players, please, you only got one job. Conduct yourselves during the off season.
Go ahead, Andre.
I want to be the voice of reason on this one. Listen, people gonna be people. They're gonna make stupid decisions. They're gonna do things they shouldn't do, even though they've been informed. They said meetings. They've been counseled on these things. Like some people just gonna make mistakes no matter what. This is why all the leagues have lawyers. All leagues have publicists. And you gotta prepare for these type of situations. You would hope that it happens less than more, but it's a lot of money. Like Matt says, it's a lot of free time. And if you're not involved, the saying is true. I don't mind is the devil's workshop. So if you're not involved in something positive, 9 times out of 10 you'll get involved in something negative. So therefore, you need to pick a charity. You need to pick a program. You need to pick a pencil, pick up a tool, do something that keeps you busy, and something that's keeping you in a good light, not a bad light. Something that's legal, not illegal. Something positive, not negative, and just focus on that. Whether it be just, I don't know, helping out families. You see a lot of players right now during the off season for the NFL. They're helping out with the immigrant situation. They're going down and they're donating their time. They're donating their money to those families. You can find things like that. It's so many issues in the United States of America that you can just pick up and deal with. You could go deal with the homeless situation. You go to Flint and deal with the water situation. You could start helping with the laws that's on the books and holding more our politicians accountable. Getting involved in politics. It's so much you can do, man. You can start getting involved in the police situation and policing in America and how unfair it is to people of color, like it's just so much you can do. You gotta stay focused in on something. Because if you don't stay focused in on something positive, you are bound to do something negative. So it's just that simple. It's that easy.
Um, Go ahead, Amina. Colin had to leave.
All right. It's very unfortunate that players, first of all, to be a professional athlete is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Many have the talent, but few are chosen. You go through all of this to get to the point where you're in the NFL and you just disrespect the opportunity. It's like, why? And this off season, it's like every few days is some player on some team that's being suspended lately for PDs, beating some woman in his life, not doing right by his children, weapons charges. One player has had a dead body in his house. Like, come on. Is this what you all want attached to your name, your career legacy? Like, come on. Act like you're thankful for the opportunity that you were blessed with and stop wasting it.
I'm sorry
Set
to
a
cut
good
you off, but I'm gonna say this thing. If you think about this, again,
set
these are people
set up a
who,
great example.
but these are people who, for whatever, depending wherever their upbringing is or whatever the case may be, you got they got some problems in their life that has not been taken care of. Now, some people can't handle fame, some people cannot handle fortune, some people cannot handle the the bigness of it all. I mean, you have to remember these are young kids at the end of the day, under the age of 25. I mean, they're older or even under the age of 30.
That's
Okay,
that's
so
un- Maddie, that's understandable, but at the end of the day, I look at it as a comparison to the situation with mass shootings where people say it was mental health. No, it has
oh,
nothing to
no,
do
no,
with
no,
that
oh, no. I mean, but they have to,
because
okay.
people are in poverty all day, every day of their lives, and they're not taking their lives. So, but you got people that got millions and billions of dollars that are taking their lives. Like, I look at it that. It has nothing to do with that. As people are choosing to do, these NFL players are choosing to do these things. You got people that players that never make the draft, never make the NFL, that are better than some people that are actually in the NFL. They're not doing all this mess. But you got people that's in the NFL, they are. It's a choice. I'm just saying, make a positive example, set forth a good sportsmanship. Stop doing things that you know is going to get you suspended from off the team. Stop doing stuff. You all wait until the off season to do all this stuff. Like, why? Go find something constructive and productive to do in the community. With all that money you have, get busy with it. Go build something, do something. Not running around getting a criminal record, getting suspended, doing this, that, and the third. Come on. You're a professional athlete. People are watching and looking at you. Act like you know. Next question. Mm.
I want to put a little piece in here on this. The interesting thing about these situations is some of these guys are younger, some are older, veterans. I mean, Philly fans know you had Lane Johnson, and he's kind of he's mid 20s, so he's still young. Um, but I think some of the issues that these NFL players are running across, and you're right. I mean, they're making a choice to do that. But I think one of the main issues is that some of these guys, for one, didn't grow up with a structured family life, and so and you know they come into the NFL and they get this money, and they're like they're not taught how to use the money. I mean, it's the same thing with the NBA. They're not taught how to use the money to better themselves, so that they kind of revert. They're the same person, but they have money now, and so they do the same things they used to do, and they don't understand that. Okay, I'm in a different position now. Um, I'm an NFL player now, and I'm an employee technically of the NFL, so I have to act a certain way. And unfortunately, you have situations like what happened with I can't remember what player it was, but finding a dead body in somebody's house. So, or narcotics or a weapon. So a lot of that has to do with, as these guys were growing up, it was just poor structure in terms of their family life and their home life. And then also but on the other end, I think it's different from other sports. What's going on? I mean, because it's not like this is not new. Seeing people get suspended for, PED violations and a gun charge, stuff like that. Having a gun that wasn't registered. It's not new. We've seen this before. I think the difference between the NFL and maybe baseball or the NBA is that in the NFL, players are typically much older because there's no one and done in the NCAA football. So typically when players come in, they're 23, 24. So they're a little bit more mature, or should be a little bit more mature. And so I hear you, Matt, when you're saying that these guys are kids, but at the same time, I think it's all about choices, right? And they have a choice to either, be a, for lack of a better way to say it, be a good employee to the NFL, and not, murder someone, i.e., Aaron Hernandez or this recent guy who, the body was found in his house, or not get caught, using PEDs or steroids or whatever the case may be. But I mean, it's a tricky situation, and I don't think this is not a phenomenon. It's something you've seen for years in all sports, and I think it just comes down to, for the younger guys, it comes down to the idea that they have to learn how to make better decisions, and for the older guys, they've got to make good decisions, but they've also got to set an example. They've got to set an example for the younger guys. And it's weird because in the NFL, there's not really a guy where I could say, okay, this guy is like, squeaky clean, never really had any. I mean, there's a few guys, Russell Wilson, those guys, but they're, and in basketball, you have somebody like LeBron James.
Tim Tebow.
Right. You have guys like Tim Tebow. In the NFL, you don't really have, I mean, you had Tim Tebow. He could have been that face of the NFL that was so-called squeaky clean, never had run-in with the law, maybe made some controversial comments about politics or religion. And you're right, Andre. I think JJ Watt is turning into that, but he's not there yet, right? And I think it's because football is a little bit of it's a different sport, and so the way that manifests itself is different. But I think it's a level. It's not an off-season issue. It's a league issue, and I think Goodell and then the older players, veteran players in the league have to do a better job at setting an example and being that J.J. Watt, Tim Tebow, Russell Wilson type of player, so that when young guys come into the league, they look at these guys and say, okay, so what is Russell Wilson doing in the offseason? What is J.J. Watt doing in the offseason? Right? Are they working out? What kind of charity work are they doing? Are they married? Do they have kids? What does that family life look like? And how can I model myself after that? So it's really a culture thing in the NFL that can only be fixed by both the leadership of the NFL itself, and then also on a player's level. But let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Next question. Let's see. It's funny. Amina made up the list of questions, and in recent, I'd say in the last 6 months, we've seen. I don't know if it's a rise. I think it's more that people are recording it more. African Americans having the police called on them by white people, unfortunately, for doing normal things like having a cookout or going to the swimming pool. So the question is, do you think this is do you think this is a phenomenon, or do you think this is something that's been going on and it just hasn't been recorded? And why suddenly are we seeing it more on Facebook and other social media sites? So let me rephrase that. So the question is really, what's your reaction to those things happening, and why do you think that we're seeing it more often, or is it not that we're seeing it more often? It's just that it hasn't been recorded. We'll go ahead and start with Andre.
You know why this is happening. This is Trump's America. We've seen it from our Senate. We've seen it from our House of Representatives. It's a time that in America that we're in the bully phase of America. That we're going to do what we want. We're going to push our agenda forward. We're going to push back what happened before, as i.e. the Obama administration, and taking away everything that he put in the act. Now you're pulling it back, and you're making laws to stop it. He has set the tempo for the country, and the white folk have followed. They saying, we're going to take our America back. We're going to make it great again and all that jazz. And, the KKK has come out with their tiki torches. And, it's just a time in America where racism really is at the forefront. And we can't run away from it. Because these people are doing normal activities. Like, dude, are you serious? Like, it's like, really? Like, you called the police on an 8-year-old little girl because she was selling waters on her property, at her mom's house, right across the street from a park. And then your excuse is bringing noise to the neighborhood. It's a park across the street. It's a train station right there. You got to be kidding me. You call the police on the girl that's sleeping in the dorm. And then the police show up and want to see her ID. No. Why don't you ask the girl who called the police, let me see your ID first. You go straight to the black girl and you want to see her ID. Then we see another video where they're asking a black man to see his ID. And who's the first one to punch him in the face? The black cop. He's got to show off for his white buddies. It's just situation after situation after situation, man. It's ridiculous, man. Like it's absurd. And what should happen is people should get fined for wasting the police time, for wasting the 911 operator's time. This is serious stuff. Like, we can't hold up the line because your racism won't allow somebody else to live. I mean, it's just ridiculous, man. Like, are you serious? Like, you have no morality, you have no principles. You just think that you can do whatever and get away with it. It's totally absurd. That's all it is. It's totally absurd.
Yeah, man. So I'm going to throw my piece in there, and then we'll go to Matt, and then I'll let Amina finish us off with this question. So recently, I was watching one of these videos, and it was a woman. You never saw the woman's face, but presumably she was black. She said she was black. She lived in a neighborhood, and they had a community pool, and there's a gate that you have to have a card for to even get into the pool area. So this white guy begins to, which he was a resident, and I guess had the right to, asked if she lived in in the neighborhood or was a resident. And she said yes. She told him her address, and this guy, is a white guy, continued to press this woman. She's there with herself and her child, about whether or not she was a resident, and began to ask for her ID. And the police were called. They came and resolved the issue. But at the end of the day, what happened was this guy felt that she didn't belong there, and so he took it upon himself. He was emboldened, as Andre was talking about. He was emboldened to treat her as if she didn't belong there, as if she wasn't a resident. And the interesting thing about racism and prejudice is that it doesn't make sense. It's unfounded. It's based upon preconceived notions about a group of people that are untrue. Right? So this guy, the funny thing about the story, or I shouldn't say funny, the stupid or foolish thing about what the guy was doing is that, one, there was no sign that said that anybody had to sign in. Two, he had no right to ask for her ID because he's not in charge. It's not like he's, the manager of the neighborhood or the community pool. And third of all, everybody has to have a key card in order to get. There's a gated key. There's a gated pool. In order to get into the pool area, you need a key card. And when you swipe the key card, it will turn green. It's like a hotel room. You swipe it, it turns green. The door will open. Swipe it, it turns red. Either your key card is bad, or you're using a card that's not valid for the gate. This woman was inside the community pool gates, so obviously she had a valid key card as a resident. Yet this guy insisted, and even after the police came, spoke to the guy, explained to him, blah, blah, blah. The police officer looked at her ID, showed the guy that the key card worked and that it turned green. And the guy insisted, wouldn't apologize. And so we're in a time where I don't think this is a phenomenon, right? I think that things like this probably have happened well before Trump came in office. However, in this social media age, and we've seen it with a lot of things. We've seen it with people getting shot down by police officers or police brutality. You've seen it with riots or fights. In this day and age, everybody's recording everything. So I think it's just not that necessarily it's happening more often. It's that we're seeing it more often. Because people are now, and I think we've got to do this as African Americans, is when we're in a situation like that, just record it, because it exposes the monstrosity and the ugliness that prejudice and racism are. Because, like I said, it's unfounded and it's foolish to think less of, or to act as if someone doesn't belong somewhere where they do belong, or have a right to be in an area to treat them as if they don't have a right to be in an area where, for all intents and purposes, they do have a right to be there. So that's my piece. So let's go ahead and move on to Matt, and then we'll let Amina finish off.
Telling me, y'all telling me that all the stuff been going on, and this is kind of quasi new in the social media world? Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you.
No, I'm not saying it's new. I'm not saying it's new. I think what I was saying is that it's not new. It's that we're seeing it more often because we're in the social media age. So people are recording it more often, and that's why we're seeing it on social media.
You're seeing it more often because we're in the social media age. People are using their cameras more to record things, and there's a platform for it. Yes, there is, but you have to remember this. This is 8 years. This is 8 years of deep-seated, fermented hatred that has been almost at the boiling point between 2008 and 2014. Oh God, get my ears busted. 2008 to 2016, 2017. January 20th, 2017. This has been basically deep-seated, fermented hatred on the fact that a brother literally is in the White House, running the country, running it well, and putting the swag.
And man, let me stop you for a second. And you bring up a great point. And I wanted to say this. This started way before Trump. This started, like you said, when President Obama became the president. The real hatred came out. Even with that gentleman, he was the senator, that screamed out when President Obama came to do his address. What was it, to the Senate? Yeah, he came to his address to the Senate. He yelled, "Liar!" That's unprecedented. Nobody does that. That's never happened. And the fact that they didn't take him out in the handcuffs, and he didn't get fined, and he didn't go through a situation because of that, just tells you what kind of America we dealing with. Freedom of speech.
and I'm glad you brought that up too. I'm gonna get to that in a moment. But you have to think about this. This is like I said, deep-seated, fermented hatred on the fact that Obama became president. And yet, now mind you, in the Twitter world, we were too. I'll admit, me included, was too in love with the fact that things are looking up, the economy is on the upswing, and this, that, and the third, and some people were still not happy on the fact that Obama was not doing more than enough for African Americans, because look, Obama knew the fact that you cannot go too far to the left or too far black or too far this or too far that because of certain situations. You knew this. Now, if you wanted him to go pro, like, how can I put this? Go all the way black, trust me, he would have done so a long time ago. He would have done it. But you have to think about this. You have 330 plus million Americans to worry about, to be concerned about. You are the leader of the free world. So you have to think about this. This been going on even before, when Obama, during Obama's presidency, if not before it. Because remember, everybody was happy on the fact that, hey, you know what? There ain't no black man, there ain't no female in my White House, so all is well in the world today. Now, since 44 has left us and become I think one of the greatest presidents of all time, the crooner in chief, if you will, the man put the swag back in the White House, or in it to begin with. You have President Agent Orange, you have President Gorilla, President Orangutan, the leader of the free tanning world, President Asshole, who really don't understand the fact that
Preach!
the fact that, there's a thing called the Constitution, and you must honor it, you must protect it with everything you got, and unfortunately, he has not done so. This man should have been impeached a long time ago because, frankly, he has infringed on people's First Amendment rights, the freedom of the press, number one. Number two, the fact that he has lied and lied and lied and lied and lied time and time again on the fact that, Obama's going to take away your guns. First of all, Obama was never going to take away your guns. In fact, this man will take away your guns. Number three, the people that have been emboldened by their superior racism and everything, that is not American, that everything is un-American. Like, for example, Charlottesville. We all seen it. We all know about it. Even to where the Tiki Corporation, the company that made the Tiki torches, they even condemned it. The people, even as far as the Detroit Red Wings hockey team, has almost, and I think did sue a white nationalist group for using their logo. These people are voting never mind against their interest. They're voting with redness, not Republican redness. They're voting with the fact of they see red. They will do everything in their power to make sure that everything in their power to make America great again in their own eyes. America's already been great from the jump. It's been great. It's been doing well since little after 1776, 1865, 1960s. Depends where you want to start. The point is simply this. These people are more emboldened than whatever, more emboldened to do the things that they do against people of color, immigrants, women, other religious minorities, and etc. because they feel threatened. When you're threatened, you're going to defend everything you got, whatever it is that you have. You're going to defend it, and now you're seeing certain groups of white people having. I love this one. This is my favorite, and that makes me laugh, but it makes me cry at the same time. White civil rights marches. White civil rights marches. Let's put that together here. White civil rights marches. Their rights has not been infringed upon. The laws have not been infringed upon. In fact, they get more and more protection. Okay, because of the rise in racism. Keyword: the rise of it. And you're going to tell me.
I'm losing my white privilege.
And you're telling me. The people are saying, people of color, immigrants, and the like are saying we have been treated unfairly. We want to be part of the pie too. There's so much of this pie to be had. Okay, it's like Jesus feeding 5,000 people. I mean, and there's more scraps left on the table. And yet, some people are acting like 5-year-olds, a la Trump, a la President, my skin is orange, thinking that the orange is new black, but really is not right now. You acting like 5-year-olds, thinking like they're taking something away from me, which really they're not. They're not taking away the guns. But you're misreading and misunderstanding, misinterpreting the Second Amendment, let alone the First. Okay, if you have noticed. I can go into a spiel about it, but I'm not going to go into it. But to cut this short, people are more emboldened to do things now more than ever because you have a leader that's speaking their language, that's speaking their tone, that's speaking everything that they feel. Never mind rationale, never mind logic. It's emotions and feeling. You feel this way. He is speaking the language. He is speaking the rhetoric, and people may feel more emboldened that way because they have a leader that will pretty much look the other way when it comes to the law. The law. And the law supposedly is supposed to protect all, not a certain group. I've said this before and I've said it again. We are in the Jim Crow 2.1.1. This is where we're at right now. Jim Crow 2.0 was the election. Jim Crow 2.1 is basically this orange in chief here. And 2.11 is when he tried to drain the swamp and he added his buddies in there and destroying everything this country has worked on. Healthcare, education, the economy, and taking credit for it too, and the like. But the point is, these people are more emboldened. They are not voting logically, they're voting emotionally. They're voting for the fact that they don't want no woman, in many cases, no woman, as in some cases, and other people of color, whether it be immigrant, person of color, or whatever have you. They are more emboldened to do so because they have a leader that is willing to talk about what they feel, how they feel, and etc. That's where we're at right now. And unfortunately, if we do not stand up to the bullies, and we talk about, we smell like anti-bullying this and anti-bullying that. Well, you want to teach children about anti-bullying, this your bullying chief right there, that you put this foot up his, I'm sorry, Clarence. I'm sorry, Trey, but if you talk about anti-bullying, the American needs to take their collective foot up this man's ass and vote this man out of office by 2020 and also in 2018 with these midterm elections. Let this man know that America will not stand for intolerance, bigotry, and the like. Drop mic.
Amina?
What would we do without Matt in our lives? Him and his antics, gotta love him. Gotta agree with him, Matt, as far as this is not new. This has been going on. This goes back to even the days on the plantations in the southern states and those that were scattered throughout the Caribbean. How a black person on the plantation could be doing something and overseer see it. Overseer reports to the master. They make a decision, and usually that decision was either one of two things: either get whipped or sold. You stole an extra piece of bread or stole an extra piece of chicken because you was hungry, and master rationed out the food to the slaves, and you needed extra to survive, and you got dealt with. You got snitched on by some petty other slave on a plantation, and it happened. It happened even in more modern times in the mid to latter part of the 20th century with the Jim Crow era.
I'm sorry to remind you, resist, remove.
You can go to the Jim Crow era of this country, after the Civil War up until I guess about the 1970s, around there, where black person, for example, may have wanted to go to the community pool. And if you know anything about black people's history in this country, we were not allowed for years to go to amusement parks, beaches, or public pools, which is why most black people to this day don't know how to swim. We were banned from going to places where there was water. So you have, a black person, for example, that may have wanted to, test the waters and try the community pool, even though they were banned. You had the whole community in an uproar about it. All the white people upset, went out on a lynch mob for them. This was back in the day, in the black and white TV days. And this is just a new modern way of white folks handling all those old school situations. 911 has become white people's customer service hotline.